part of the problem now with the mainstream media is their lack of impartiality. And as many people know on this show, I've never been shy in pointing that out. This is because, as I've said, you see, behind the scenes, when you get invited on many shows, you are sort of partial to being told exactly the direction of travel that they want you to go. You know, I mentioned this before, but a few years back now, ITV programs would invite me on and then basically say, just to remind you, we love, of course, the Duchess of Sussex, so this is the route we're going. So basically what they're saying is, don't have an opinion, just do what we want you to do, and you can pick up the check. But of course, that's not impartiality, is it? That's not the problem. Now, over on their premier breakfast show, ITV, Good Morning Britain, are not only suffering ad revenue plummeting, but also a lack of ratings too. Now, this is currently sort of put together by the former Labour MP Ed Balls alongside Susanna Reid. But the bigger problem actually on this particular occasion isn't exactly, shall we say, the content of the programme, but in fact the presenters. And many people are now saying, is this now time to refresh that presenting duo? As ever, let me explain. Morning, chums, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for your time today. It is always a problem, you know, in the mainstream media, and if you work, sorry, we'll have a wave, and if you work in the media, right, that's always a worry. I can see that by watching some of the presenters on mainstream media now. They go on holiday, they're replaced by somebody younger, fresher, and the bigger thing, cheaper. The cheaper, the better. And of course, it's always a start for their career, you know, and somebody has to start somewhere. But the bigger issue after that is then they decide, you know, we'll pump these up, the PR people behind the scenes, and they make them a big cheese, making you feel very vulnerable and the fact that you may lose your job. That's the name of the game in the media, trust me. Now, what I find fascinating is the fact that Ed Balls is married to our current British Home Secretary. The woman who was going to stop the boats but couldn't literally stop a leaking tap, well, she recently appeared up on the show once again, but this time not interviewed by her husband, because the last time, well, created a major problem, as you can imagine. But just picture this, he sat alongside Susanna Reid as she's interviewing her. Now, the question you have to ask is, of course, Ed is, you know, partial to seeing the questions in advance, no doubt will know the structure of the interview. So let's just say, you know, hypothetically and as ever allegedly, that he may, of course, have tipped off his wife. You get the picture. I'm not suggesting that for one moment. But again, the first problem of impartiality. But what really kicked off was the fact that he recently interviewed the Reform UK MP, Richard Tice, and it got so heated that it's now gone to Ofcom. And the problem about this is, you know, Ofcom won't do anything, you know, really, because they're pretty weak and tend to be on the side of, oh, some people might suggest, the negative, right? But really, the fact that you've got the Home Secretary husband, right, interviewing other party members and then getting very heated and hot and bothered, it simply doesn't work out well. Now, according to sources, and again, allegedly, behind the scenes at ITV, they now are realising this is going to be a huge factor as this government stumbles on and is literally the worst polling government in history. Nobody has a good thing to say about them. Now, the problem that you have is, Ed, it doesn't matter how many times he says he's impartial, he's married to a senior figure, literally sitting on the front benches in the Houses of Parliament, alongside the current British Prime Minister. Now, as I say, this battle with the MP Richard Tice is still playing out, and there's no conclusion yet. But this really, according to sources, could finally see off Ed, or perhaps giving him sort of a special role behind the scenes, or indeed the occasional stand-in. Either way, it's not looking good. And the point is, if you think about it, his wife couldn't stop the boats, but would she finally stop Ed's televisual career? Certainly looking that way. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.